Welcome back to Come Sit With Us podcast with your hosts, Anna Ennis and Nicole St. John. We are so happy to be here with you today. We are talking about
We're
resistance
talking about,
being your
resistance.
biggest opportunity. Take it
Oh,
away, Anna.
okay. So I feel like I get so excited about talking about resistance because I've definitely had like a mindset shift when it comes to resistance. I remember just, even last year before, where I was like, oh no, I'm in resistance. Like, that's bad. That's not good. Like, I'm not getting ahead. Like, oh my gosh, I'm taking 5 steps back. Like, I always thought that resistance meant that I was taking, like, I was like kind of falling back down the mountain. And then have to like climb back up again. And it was like this visual in my head of like always trying to climb the mountain, never getting to the top of the mountain because I keep falling farther and farther and farther back down the freaking thing. Right. And then I realized that like I started noticing a pattern that every time I had resistance, that it was almost like I catapulted high, like super high into this crazy cool place. And so now when I have resistance come up, it's like I celebrate it, which sounds kind of crazy to think like, oh, you celebrate hardship, you celebrate that point. But I do, because it's like I know that my body, in order for it to embody and land in that place of where I desire to be, I got to work through the internal dialogue. Like I got to work through the harder stuff, right? Like I can't just I use myself as an example, right? So like I put this goal out for my business of like I want to make $1 million, okay? But it's like when I actually thought about it and I was like, okay, so if I had $1 million today, like what would you do with it? Would you be happy? Like, and I went through all the different aspects of my life and it was like, oh God, no, my business systems aren't set up correctly. Like this, what would I do with this? It's simplest stuff like how would I file my taxes? Like what would I do for this? It's like all the practical stuff started coming up and I was like, oh, okay, hold on a sec. There's something here, right? There's something here because it means that I get to actually grow into this person, which I'm more excited about growing into the person than I am at the end result. And I think that's where it becomes really fun, is where we no longer like chase the actual result and obsess over the result as we do like the journey. And the only way that you can kind of really become obsessed with like the journey that you're on is that recognizing that like throughout the way, there's just like hiccups. There's just things that happen, small, big, and massive things that like upset your trail. And I think as we build more and more trust within ourselves, we all of a sudden just believe. We just trust that no matter what comes up, we're going to figure it out because we always have. We've always had money. We've always had food. We've always survived because we're here right now, right? Like we have survived. That will always happen. And and as we as we continue on, our trust in ourselves and our abilities like builds. I shared this, I think, in one of the beginning podcasts that we ever did, that one of my greatest fears when I was first starting out and working was that I was going to be on welfare or like have to have food stamps or like, and for those in California listening, that's kind of like our government income. So like I was always just afraid that that was going to happen. I was always afraid that I was going to go bankrupt. I was always afraid that I was going to lose a house. Like I was always afraid that when I got something, I wouldn't be able to hold it. And it always came with like massive resistance. There was always massive resistance in order to get to something because I internally put myself through hell thinking that it had to be a certain way in order to have a certain outcome. And so when all of those things started to come true in my life, which all of them did, uh, then I was like, uh-oh, I do have power over this. Like, and not only do I have power, but I need to understand that the resistance and the lesson here is actually way more important than the money that I say that I desire in this moment. So for me, resistance has become like, even in my own business, when I'm like, oh, those days where you wake up and you're frustrated as hell because nothing's working, then I sit back and I think, okay, why isn't it working today? Like what's going on here? Is today the day I should be doing this, or should it be another day? Like I start analyzing, right, what I should be doing in that moment. And most of the times it's like I slap down the computer, I put away all the stuff, and it means I need to go live my life. And then when I come back in the good energy, the good frequency, then I can boom, bust stuff out like quickly. So yeah, for me, resistance has actually turned into like, I don't want to say that I invite it, but I definitely am okay with it. Like I'm totally okay with it now.
Yeah, I
That's
don't think
that's
that we
me.
grow. I don't think that we grow in the easy times. I think that it is through the resistance. It's through the hardship that we grow. I think that that's whenever you're going to see, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's I feel like that's just kind of it's like that's how you build resiliency, right? Like it's
Yeah.
through the hardship. It's through powering through the, you know, and I know that sounds like super masculine energy, but I think that there's something to be said about acknowledging the resistance and saying, I can do this. Like, I can do this. I don't want to, but I can. I can do this. This is hard, but I can do it. I can learn it. Um, I know that like in my nursing career, whenever I was in school for nursing, if I didn't jump into the thing that was I was so resistant to, like I was the first person to volunteer for everything. Because if I didn't just jump and do it, I knew I would talk myself out of it. And so the resistance for me was like an invitation to just jump. Jump in before you talk yourself out of it because this is where you're going to grow. This is how you're going to prove to yourself you can freaking do this because there's a lot of icky that we got to do in life and a lot of tough stuff. And I think that that's just, I think that without it, you're kind of living a life of mediocrity that is where you're not really building you as a person. Like, I don't know how to say that, but does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think of too when I become this is where it changed in my own journey is that when resistance happens, that there's two routes we can go down with it. There's the story of doom, gloom, I'm the victim, like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Like there's
I
like this
quit.
story, right?
I quit. I'm not doing it.
I quit, I'm done,
Too
I'm doing
hard.
it. Too hard, too hard. And then there's the story of, okay, I'm strong, I'm worthy, I'm amazing, I can do this. Like I've done a lot of hard things in my life before. Like this gets to work for me. Like, you know what I mean? It's like coming up upon the situation and being like, yeah, no, nice try. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
So, my tip for everybody that's listening is I want you to think of the hardest thing you've ever been through. And you're still here today, right? Like you're still here today.
Yeah.
So, everything else will pale in comparison.
Yeah.
I've been
Totally
through
true.
some really, really freaking hard things, devastating things, life-changing things, really fucking hard things. And so now when I'm sitting here and I feel like I'm going to be bested by the fucking laundry, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The house cleaning, my relationship with my husband, no, I like, yes, I want it all to work. If it didn't tomorrow, it's not going to break me. I'm not going to, I've been through like horrific things. So, and they're horrific for me. For someone else, they might be like, that's freaking easy. That's okay. I don't care. It's not a comparison here. Um, but for me, I know that I can make it through anything that comes my way because I always have. Like
Yeah.
this next thing is not going to be the thing that gets the better of me. Like
We
I'm
all have. We all have made it through, you know?
yes, and that's my point is that we need to remember that. And I encourage you to remember that as you're listening to this to sit there and think of, you know what? What do I feel like is like just overwhelming right now? Is it really overwhelming? Because
Or is it a
look at that other
story
thing
we've
that you
created?
did. Look at that other thing that you made it through that was like really freaking hard, where you really didn't know if you were coming out the other end of that or not. And then
So
think
here's
that like you did, like you made
you
it through because
did.
you're here today. You've made it through 100% of all of your hard days. And so I really encourage you to consider that whenever you are looking at opportunity and resistance and realize that maybe perhaps just changing the perspective a little bit and not looking at it like this is hard. Like it's not supposed to be this hard. You know what? Where can I grow in this situation? Ask yourself that. Where can I grow in this situation? Where can I use this? What lesson can I learn here? Start asking this question often. What's the lesson here? What am I meant to learn? How am I meant to grow from this situation? Because if you change your perspective on that, just that one thing right there, oh my God, think of that in every aspect of your life, in every aspect, in this shitty conversation, in this interaction with this coworker, in this financial situation that I'm in me growing as a person and getting real with me. Like, what am I meant to learn here? And how can I grow from this situation?
Mm-hmm.
It's a game changer as opposed to fuck, everything bad always happens to me. Why is it so hard? Can you, I mean, you can totally feel the energy change in that. That it's
Totally.
just, ugh, that's heavy and ew. And I actually don't even want that. I was just paraphrasing. It's not even my feelings. But the second that you say it, like you can feel the funk. So just, I really encourage you to just change the perspective. Maybe you can, if you're somebody who's struggling right now with kind of this situation, like something is, you're resistant to something, you feel like you want it to change, and you want to start remembering to use that phrase, like, how can I grow from this? What is this meant to teach me? How can I learn? All of those things. Make it your screensaver, your lock screen. Every time you look at your phone, you'll notice it. Put it as your lock screen for a month and see if your perspective doesn't start to change. Change it for a week and see how you feel. Write down right now how you're feeling today, and then go recheck after doing that in 30 days and see how you feel. 10 days, how you feel. Like you're going to notice a difference. So just know that resistance is your biggest opportunity. And it gives you, like, I feel like that also is a big indicator. The second that you feel resistance, it's an indicator, like a big red flag that says, ooh, yay, this is where we're supposed to park. This is where we're supposed to learn and grow. And this is where we're meant to like get better. As opposed to, oh, it's resistance. That means I'm not supposed to do it. Now, there are always examples of where like resistance is really like, no, you shouldn't do this. But you're going to feel that difference in your body, in my opinion. I feel like it always feels
Yeah.
different whenever it's a hard no, like you should not be doing it. It's like that inner voice is like, you need to leave. Like, this is not where we're supposed to be. We should not be doing this. This is not something you should be paying for right now. Like all of that. Whereas feeling that resist, like, why am I so like, why are these feelings coming up for me with this? Like, why is it like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it. Crap. Okay, that right there tells me that that's where I'm supposed to grow. Like, that's where I need to take the opportunity to like be self-reflective, to really dive into what are these feelings. And, you know, you can do this when you go on a walk. You can have this conversation with yourself in the shower. You can journal it out. You just want to get to a place where you've kind of disconnected from all of the other things to get really reflective for yourself and say, okay, where is this resistance coming from? How can I use it to grow? And why is this coming up for me? Are these my feelings or is this someone else's? Am I taking on the voice of someone else? Like, is it my mom or my partner or my coworker saying, you can't do that? Like, no, like, what, you want to do this? You want to open a business for that? Oh no, yeah, nobody's ever going to buy that. Oh, you want to go to school for art? Yeah, you're never going to make any money on that. Like, what? No,
What?
is that your voice or is it somebody else's?
I
So,
love that you've talked about perspective because I'm literally going back in my own mind of like a hard decision I had to make last week, you know? And I thought of like when the fear and the resistance came up, I was like, okay, hold on a sec. And this is how I break down every thought in my head right now. And I've been in this pattern for a while is I go through like as I have something hard or a fear or a resistance and I know in my mind that hard is an illusion and that hard is like this and it's different for every single person because my heart is different than Nicole's heart. She mentioned that earlier. Some of the things she's went to felt really hard to her, but maybe not to me, right?
yeah,
So when I think of something, when my ego tells me this is really hard, you can't do it, there's no way you can do it. And all the stories start coming in because they'll always come in because that's our ego. Our ego gives us that opportunity of like that other devil's advocate kind of side, right? But like I immediately think like, okay, hold on. No. Hold on, ego. Like this thing that is supposedly hard, like where is the hard actually coming from? So then I think about, and I was thinking about a certain situation, a decision I had to make, right? And so I thought about like, okay, what from my past is influencing this hard? Like, is there something in my past that happened that's coming up right now? And it's like, you know, I can't do this because this happened 20 years ago. I can't do this because I foreclosed the house. I can't do this because, you stood up on that stage and like this happened and you totally epically failed. So now you're going to fail. It's like, where is that actually coming? Is it from my past, right? Am I stuck in there when it comes to making this decision? Or is it from my future where I'm constantly thinking like, what if this happens? And what if this happens? And it's like, none of that actually exists, right? Like that's not actual reality. Reality is like the present here and now. So like I stop myself, I take a few deep breaths and I say, hold on, you've created a heart in your head right now. This is a creation. And the more stories we tell ourselves, the more we allow ourselves to go story after story after story about hard, the more intense and the brighter it gets in our body. And so for me, it's like when I recognize hard, I decide in that moment to figure out what that hard actually is, because I don't want it a shiny, bright, magnified neon light in my body. It's kind of like when I'm sad, the same thing. Like I want to feel the sadness, but where is the true sadness coming from? Is it coming from the actual present moment? Or is it coming from a past situation or a future fear? Like, where is that actually coming from? So I kind of, on all of my feelings that feel a little bit not the same every single day, right? We're not, I look at that and I'm like, okay, so as I'm making this hard decision, am I being swayed by my past? Because if I'm being swayed by my past, that's silly. That already happened. That has no influence on where I'm going. And if I'm so paranoid that like I'm going to look like a fool, or that I'm not going to be loved, or that people won't like me, like that's my future, being like, hey, you can't do it. No, that can't work either. So it's like the perspective that we tell ourselves around the situation or around the resistance actually is massive. It determines whether we're able to actually go through with the actual thing. And it's like we can't actually build resilience until we understand like where and how our thoughts are coming from. And I think that's the power of coaching. That's the power of hypnotherapy, is that there's a reason why there's a reason why I keep a coach in my world. There's a reason why Nicole's in my world as a hypnotherapist. There's a reason why I'm really strong with my faith. Like there's a reason why I belong to groups of women that are growing and evolving, is because I know that if I was left to my own vices, like my ego would always take over and my ego would always win. And I would never be and live out to who I was truly meant to be, because like I allowed myself to just go out. It's like this morning, this is another example this morning of what happened. Okay. Like super freaking tired today. I get up at the crack of dawn. Like my ego was in full on mode today of like, you don't need to get up. It's fine. Just sleep in. You know what? You don't need to go to the gym. You're tired. You're going to pass out. You've been fasting. Like that's not going to work. Like all these stories kept coming up, and it's like, I gave myself permission to sleep in if I needed it, right? But it's like I got up anyways because I thought, you know what? No, this is the day where your routine matters most, is right here, right now. This is the day the resistance is coming up for you right now. The reason why you put a morning routine in play for yourself are for days like this, not the days that it's easy. So
Yeah.
like prove to your body, right? Prove to yourself, prove the story to yourself that like you can do this. You're okay. And I think the last point, and I'll let Nicole finish up too, is like we underestimate what we can do. We we put so many benchmarks on ourselves, like we underestimate our own strength. And we sometimes allow outside culture and society to tell us what we can and can't do, right? Like you can't eat that way because you'll pass out and die, or you have to drink this much water, or you have to do it this way. Guys, I've worked out for 18 months every single day. I've missed 10 days total in 18 months. If I listen to a trainer, or if I listen to someone, I've had multiple people tell me that are in the fitness industry, yeah, that's not probably good. I don't care what you say. Like, I know what feels good on my own body. I know how I function. I trust myself. I trust my inner dialogue, right? So there comes a point where we have to understand that, like, we were built a certain way with all of the things that we need inside of us, all of the answers. And like when we come upon hard, that's good. That's good, because then it tests like what we're actually truly capable of. So that's my jam
I
today.
I agree with all of that. I feel like you got to be able to, like, your mindset is kind of the number one thing in our,
Yeah.
it's like the baseline theme in everything that we talk about. I mean, really.
Yes.
Whether it's from parenting or busting through the resistance or changing your life in 30 days. It is literally all about the mindset. And I have seen far too many women that I am this close in proximity to, like I could reach out and touch. I've seen them change their entire life. I have seen them up level in a way where when I met them, they were doing one kind of career. Now they're massively successful in another kind of career. And it's been a fraction of time. I mean, like 1 or 2 years, like 2 years that they have just totally changed the game. Where they went hard, they did it. Like I am not like I genuinely believe that anything that you want to do, if you put your fucking mind to it, you will do
Yep.
it. Like you
And your
can
heart.
accomplish anything. There are no excuses. There are no excuses. There just aren't. I can sit here and say, well, Anna's more successful in her business because she has 3 hours in the middle of the day, and I don't have that because I homeschool. No, but you know what? I got 3 hours at the end of the evening whenever I can sit there and watch old reruns of freaking Game of Thrones, 3 freaking episodes a night. Like, are you serious? No. Like, I have the same amount of hours in the same amount of day. I can make it happen. I'm choosing my hard. Like you choose your hard.
Agree.
You can either choose to have financial, uh, oh, what is the word? Like whenever you like rules about your finances, you can either choose to be disciplined in your finances or you can choose to spend and be broke. Both are hard. Choose your hard. You can either choose to show up on social media and grow your business, or you can choose to say, oh no, that's just too hard. Both are hard. It's hard to be
Mm-hmm.
a failure. Like
It
it's
is.
hard to fail at something that you love.
Yes.
It's also hard to show up every day. It's hard to be overweight and feel unhealthy. And even if it's not overweight, you can be skinny and unhealthy. It is hard to not take care of your body. It is also very difficult, very hard to take care of your body. Pick your hard.
Yeah.
So, whatever it is that you want, feel the
Yeah.
resistance, allow it to come in, and then ask yourself, where is it that I'm meant to grow? Clearly, this is what I'm meant to grow from, is this situation right here. What do I need to do to up level where I'm at, to move through it, to show myself every day that I can persevere, that I've got resilience? And that's my spiel. Make it happen.
So good. Such a good conversation today. You guys, we drop brand new episodes every single Monday. So if you want the latest and juiciest stuff, it's every Monday. There's a few different ways that you can view us or consume us. We have a YouTube channel and we also have Instagram. The YouTube is the video version of our podcast. And then we have a membership too. We have an amazing membership that is $4.99 a month, and we add in juicy little tidbits. We also add in content from both of our worlds pertaining to the conversations that we have. If you're interested in the membership, the link is down below. You can click on it. YouTube link is also down below, and Instagram, all of it's all down below. So click and consume. We love you.
See you next time.